Hello, and welcome to Storytime English with Nikki Wu. Today, we're going to be reading an alphabet book called Baseball ABC. First, let's start off with the alphabet. The capital letters are A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. And of course, there's the lowercase letters. Let's sing the alphabet song for them. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. Now we know our ABCs. Next time, won't you sing with me? Okay, great. Now let's read through our book. First, I will read through it, and then afterwards, we will break down all the vocabulary that we see. So let's get started. A stands for Arthur, a boy fond of fun. When baseball he plays, none like him can run. B stands for ball, for bat, and for base. C stands for catcher, with a mask on his face. D stands for diamond, drawn flat on the ground. E stands for Edward, who marks out the bound. F stands for foul, on which Arthur goes out. G stands for go, how the merry boys shout. H stands for high ball, knocked up to the sky. I is for innings, for which we all try. J stands for judgment, the base keepers shout. K stands for Carl, who so quickly gets out. L stands for left field, who catches fly balls. M stands for Muff, who cannot catch at all. N stands for Norman, who knocks the ball high. O stands for out, when it's caught on the fly. P stands for pitcher, a smart boy you see. Q stands for quick, which this pitcher must be. R stands for runner, who runs to each base. S stands for shortstop, the ball he must chase. T stands for third base, looked after by James. U stands for umpire, who judges these games. V stands for Victor, the best of the nine. W stands for William, who tells us the time. X stands for score mark, which errors point out. Y stands for youth, who's been injured no doubt. Z stands for Zeno, this boy rather tall, who thinks there's no fun like a game of baseball. Okay, great. So here we can see a page of all the text in the book. And I would like to take this time to go through and cover some of the vocabulary and maybe go a little more in depth with some of these words. So first here it says, A stands for Arthur, a boy fond of fun. Now I've underlined Arthur here because Arthur is a boy's name, okay? I will underline all of the boys' names that we see here. Okay? But you can remember that, Arthur. Okay, the next thing I wanted to point out there was that word fond. Fond. That means to like something. If I am fond of something, I like it. You could say something like, I am fond of ice cream. Right? That means I like ice cream. Okay? It says, when baseball he plays, none like him can run. Right? This is what we sort of use when we are talking poetically. We want it to rhyme, fun, and run, rhyme. They sound the same. Okay? But this line here, when baseball he plays, none like him can run, that just means he's really fast, right? He can run really fast. Okay. It then goes on to say, B stands for ball, for bat, and for base. Now those are things that you use when playing baseball. So here we can see the ball, and then also the bat. There's the bat. And lastly, we see the base. The base. Now, I would like to say that there are 4 bases in baseball: first, second, third, and home plate. Home plate is the name of the last base in baseball. When a player crosses over home plate after running past first, second, and third, then they will score a point. Okay, that is how baseball works. All right, the next part we have here is C stands for catcher, with a mask on his face. All right, I wanted to point out 2 things in this line. First is that catcher, that's the verb to catch with an ER on the end. And we'll talk about that more in just a second. And second is that with mask on his face. Now I added the indefinite article a there, a. We want to remember to use these. Again, this is poetry, so it's not exactly like spoken language. When you speak, you want to remember your articles with a mask on his face, okay? Now going back to that ER, when we have a verb plus ER, that means someone who does something, someone who does the verb. So for example, here I wrote out player. That's from the verb to play, right? So a player is someone who is playing or who does play. Teacher, right? To teach, someone who is teaching, someone who teaches. A dancer, someone who dances. Voter, someone who votes. Painter, someone who paints. Okay, do we see the pattern here? Okay, verb plus ER is someone who is doing that verb, someone who does that verb. Now there are a few exceptions to this, and I've written out a few here. Some of them are actor, someone who is acting, who acts is an actor with an OR. An artist is someone who is making art, right? An artist. A liar is someone who is lying, who does lie, right? A cook or a chef is someone who cooks. We don't say a cooker. He is a cook or she is a chef. A musician, someone who makes music. And a pianist or a pianist, that is someone who is playing the piano. Okay, so these are a few common exceptions, all right? But a lot of times if you want to add a verb plus ER together, if you want to make that, it will work out pretty well, okay? All right, back to our text. D stands for diamond, drawn flat on the ground. You see I've drawn a shape of a diamond there. The place where you play baseball, we either call the baseball field or the baseball diamond. Okay, diamond, that's where all the bases are. There's 1 base on each point of the diamond. Okay, next is E stands for Edward. Underlined Edward, that boy's name, that man's name, who marks the bound. Bound is boundary, right? Boundary. The boundary is the edge of something, the limit of something. Okay, next is F stands for foul, on which Arthur goes out. Now you can see here I've drawn the fair and the foul, right? Fair and the foul. That line there is the boundary, that V-shaped line. Those are the boundaries, right? If it's inside the V, it is fair. If it is outside the V, it is foul. That's how we tell that. Next is G, stands for go. How the merry boys shout, right? So the word there, merry means happy, just means happy. And you've heard that before, Merry Christmas, right? That means happy Christmas, have a happy holiday. Now this is not a word that we use very commonly. Okay, mostly we will use the word happy, happy. Okay, that's the common language there. And H stands for high ball, knocked up to the sky. Knocked there, that just means hit. So when the batter hits the ball up very high into the air, that's a high ball. Next we have I stands for innings, for which we all try. Okay, there are 9 innings in baseball. Okay, that's just the time that they will play, for 9 innings normally. Sometimes if the score is tied, they might have to play more. The next one is J stands for judgment, the base keeper's shout. Now, we call the base keeper now the baseman. The baseman, that's the person that will stand on each base and try to get another person out. Right? And we saw that in the story. Then K stands for Carl, who so quickly gets out. Carl's that boy's name there, right? And in this case, the baseman decided that he was out. L stands for left field, who catches fly balls. I added the ER on the end of that left field because that's who we call the person that catches a ball in the left field, a left fielder. Again, that ER, right? Someone who does something. Then we go on to M stands for muff, who cannot catch at all. A muff is an old-fashioned word for mistake, right? A muff is a mistake or a bad player. They called a bad player a muff. This is not something that I have heard in normal conversation. So, yeah, I don't think we would normally say that. Let's go on, and then it says N stands for Norman, who knocks the ball high, right? N, Norman, right? It's another boy's name. And knocks, right? Again, that means hits. Hits. Okay, then O stands for out, when it's caught on the fly. On the fly means before the ball hits the ground. Okay, so if one of the players hits the ball and it goes up very high in the sky, and another of the other team's players can catch it before it hits the ground, then the batter, the person who hit the ball, is out. Okay, that's another way to get out. P stands for pitcher, a smart boy you see. Again, there's that verb plus ER, the verb to pitch, right? It means to throw, right? To throw. The pitcher is a smart boy you see. Q stands for quick, which this pitcher must be, right? It must be very fast. R stands for runner, the person who runs to each base. And S stands for shortstop, the ball he must chase. Okay, again, they're that base and chase, they rhyme. Right? Normally we wouldn't say that. We would say S stands for shortstop. He has to chase the ball. And that's how we would say that. The shortstop is the player, right? The name of the player. Then we have T stands for third base, one of the 4 bases, looked after by James. Okay, James is another boy's name there. Okay, then U stands for umpire, who judges these games. In other sports, they call this the referee. But in baseball, we call this the umpire. And the next one is V is for victor, the best of the 9. Okay, that word there, victor, I have it underlined because it is a boy's name. All right, and it's a boy's name, Victor, but it also means someone who is the best in a competition, someone who is the winner. Right, so the best of the 9 players on the team is the victor, and that's also his name. W stands for William, who tells us the time. William is another boy's name, so I have that underlined. And when we say tells us the time, we can also say keeps the time, or keeps time. So I wrote that in there too. Next is X stands for score mark, which errors point out. So the score mark there is just an X that they'll put in the book. So whenever a team is not doing what they should be, they'll get an X or an error. Next is Y stands for youth, who's been injured, no doubt. A youth is just a young person. If you are in your youth, you are young. If you are a youth, you are a young person. Okay, then we have Z stands for Zeno, this boy rather tall who thinks there's no fun like a game of baseball, right? So this is the last one there. Zeno is another name. It's supposed to be a name. Now this is not a common modern name. I have never met anyone named Zeno. Okay, but that's supposed to be his name. So I want to thank you for joining me here today. And I hope that you learned something good today here with Storytime English with me. And I will very much look forward to the next lesson that we have together. So thank you. Have a nice day.